Today we're going to go over sharpening a bowl gouge and look at some of the tools to make that a little bit easier, okay? Oh, by the way, I'm Dean with Dean's Woodworking. Welcome to the shop. Y'all come on in and make yourself comfortable. As a matter of fact, come on up close here and let's take a look at what we're doing, okay? You'll see here I have a Wolverine system set up on a slow speed Ricon grinder. To use this, we're going to use one of Wolverine's jigs and we'll place the gouge in that. Typically, I'm going to do a 2-inch reveal. Now, some folks will say 1 3/4, some folks will say 2 inches. It really doesn't matter as long as you do it the same every time. Years ago, I made one of these little blocks. That may or may not be the best way to do it. A lot of folks will put a little block up here. They can put their tool up against that and get a 2-inch reveal. I know if I put it right there against that I'm going to have a 2-inch reveal. So normally what I'll do is just set my gouge down here, snug it up, and I know that that's 2 inches of the gouge sticking out the end. Now you may ask, how do we set this? Well, the further out you have this, the steeper your angle is going to be. The further in you have it, the sharper your angle is going to be. There's several tools to help you set this up. This one right here is a great example, and you can see it's awfully dusty from me not doing a lot of turning for a while. But basically what that does is we set it in here and we move this in and out until we get both of those touching, and we tighten it down. Okay, let's take a look at this tool right here to set up your jig. As this slides in and out, and of course the further out you've got it, the steeper your angle on your gouge is going to be. The further in, the sharper your angle is going to be. Now I've determined over the years exactly where I want my angle for this particular gouge. So I'll just set it in here, move that until both are touching, tighten it down, and regardless if I'm at my shop, your shop, or another friend of ours' shop, I can walk in, use this gauge. It has numbers. I know exactly where my number's going to be for that gouge, and it will sharpen the same. Now some of you may be saying, okay, how do I determine what the angle is? Well, there are several ways to do that. One of my favorites is to just simply come in here, put this into the bevel or into the flute, get the bevel right there, and then if I read that, I can tell that that's about a 50-degree angle. Now, what's the best angle on a bowl gouge? Well, that's kind of up to you. There's folks out there that say, okay, you got to use a 40-40. Okay, that's the cat's meow. That's, you know, forget everything else. A 40-40 is the way to go. Well, I kind of disagree. A 40-40 is a great angle and it's a good grind to use. However, it's the least used one I have. Okay, there's other folks that may say, oh, you need to grind your bevel to 60 degrees. That's the perfect angle, is 60 degrees. Well, They're not wrong, but I would argue they're not correct either. I don't even have a gouge ground at 60 degrees. The steepest I've got is 55 degrees, and that's one I use fairly regular. This one is going to be about 50 degrees. It's a good angle for general bowl turning. Okay, so I can still get into the bottom of the bowl on most bowls. Get a real deep one, maybe not. But most of the bowls I can turn, I can start at the top and go all the way to the bottom. The other thing is, if you use a tailstock while you're shaping your bowl, remember, you've got to start at the base or where your tenon is, and you've got to make that sweep around the bowl. Well, if you've got a 40-40 grind, you're out here. If you've got a 60-degree grind, you may be over here. Somewhere in between is going to be the perfect angle for you. I can't tell you what that's going to be. And if anybody else attempts to tell you what that's going to be, well, might not want to listen to that person. The best thing to do is to get a gouge, grind it at an angle, and play with it. And some of you may go, well, wait a minute. I just bought a Thompson gouge or a D-Way or a Carter & Son or any one of a number of very expensive tools. I got a tip for you. You see this gouge here? It's a Savannah. I bought these from Peachtree. Now, it's been a number of years ago, and I don't know exactly what the cost is now. I'll look it up and put a link down in the description for these. But I believe at the time I bought these, I got a 3/8, a 1/2 inch, and a 5/8 for about 60 bucks. Now, are these the best steel in the world? No, I won't argue that point. Are they the worst? I don't know. Amazingly, they stay sharp a lot longer than you would think they would. But the nice thing about them is anytime somebody says, hey Dean, you got to try this grind, I don't have a problem. I just grab one of these and, you know, if I wear it out, I can get another set for next to nothing. And I'm sure I've taken an inch or two off of these over the years doing just that. But that saves your expensive tools too. Just a tip. So let's take this 1/2 inch bowl gouge. By the way, this is my favorite gouge. And we're going to go ahead and slide it into the jig here. Again, this block has a 2 inch and a 1 3/4 inch hole. I'm going to put it in the 2 inch and we're going to tighten it down. Let's just double check this and we are set. So since we know we're set there, we've got this, let's do one more thing. Let's take a Sharpie and we will just blacken the end of this. I don't know how good a job I did of that, but we got some black on it. We're going to hold it up here. We're just going to turn that a couple of times. And actually, we may not be quite far enough out. So let's double check this and make sure my setting is still correct. And it appears to be, I don't have it quite right. That needs to come out just a little bit more. And let's try that one more time. And that's just about perfect, folks. So, when I say we're going to sharpen, some folks will say they're going to grind their tools. I don't grind my tools, I sharpen them. And let me show you what I mean. This is how long it takes me to sharpen a tool. Let's see, double checking that. We're going to come in and hit this side one more time. And folks, we are sharp. And that took a lot longer than it normally does. Let me show you one more time. I want to give you an overhead view so you can see exactly what I'm doing. When I place this in the jig and I go in, I'm typically going to start on the side and I'm going to pull it over. I'm going to start on the other side and pull it over. Notice I kind of went to the center on both, or just shy of the center, and then I'm going to come in. I'm going to go all the way around. That's the most this gouge has been on the grinder in years, because it just doesn't take that. A couple of tools that I find that I use a lot here is this particular jig here. Now, they make a Raptor jig, which is basically a fixed version of this. But if you're using a Raptor, you're going to use a preset that somebody else determines. You may be fine with that. I'm not. With this, you're going to determine exactly what that angle is. Why? So you can repeat it next time. Folks, too many times I see people that you can tell watching their videos or watching them turn that they're turning with dull tools. It's just not a fun thing to do. I've got a video, and I'll link it to the end, of how fast does my tool get dull. And so I would encourage you to watch that, because what we want to do is we want to keep our tools sharp. It'll make the turning more enjoyable. You'll get smoother cuts, less sanding. It'll actually cut a lot quicker, and you'll be able to enjoy your hobby a lot more with sharp tools than you would dull tools. Folks, this is not difficult. A lot of people put a lot of effort and time into sharpening, and you would think that you had to get all kinds of strops and make everything razor sharp. Let's talk about that just a minute. You do realize that the sharper you get on something, the quicker it's going to get dull, right? So if you see folks that they're going in and they're sharpening their bench chisels so that they'll shave, or their plane irons so that, again, they'll shave, that's all good and great. Let's take a plane iron, for instance. You put it in a plane and you plane a 3-foot board. On a 3-foot board, what are you going to make? About 4 trips down it in a minute? Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Is my math good there, guys? So let's say that you're turning an 8-inch bowl. The circumference is a little more than 25 inches around. Let's just call it 2 feet to be simple. Let's say we're spinning that on the lathe at 500 RPMs, which is not unrealistic. So at 500 RPMs, that's revolutions per minute for those folks that are having to think about that. When you start cutting, in a minute, it's passing the same point 500 times. 2 feet per revolution. you're cutting 1,000 feet of wood. Now let that sink in for just a moment. 12 feet with a hand plane, 1,000 feet with your bowl gouge. If you get this thing literally shaving sharp, how long do you think it's going to stay that way? So you may notice that I'm still using the old white stone wheels. I am. I've got CBN wheels laying right over there. And I'm probably going to put them on as soon as I get the rest of this shop, and I'm sure you guys can see enough of the background to know it's not together yet. And I will start using them. But the main reason I wanted to do this video before I switched is to let you guys, especially you new guys, know that you don't have to have CBNs to sharpen your tools. A lot of folks have commented on how sharp my tools are many times, both on the videos and when I would see other folks and they'd use one of my tools to turn with. Well, that's how I sharpen them. Rikon slow speed grinder, one-way Wolverine jig, and folks, you can get all sorts of attachments for these Wolverine jigs. They come with a couple, but you're certainly not limited to that. And I'm not advertising for Wolverine or One Way. It's just that I bought another brand and I was less than impressed with it. I bought the Wolverine and I have been nothing but impressed with it ever since I got it. So I could have saved myself $100 if I'd have gone ahead and bought it first instead of the other brand. Hopefully that'll help some of you save a little money and get started. Sometimes it's best just to go ahead and buy the right tool first. You know the old story, buy once, cry once. So wish I'd have done that. With all that, guys, keep your tools sharp, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy turning.